Good morning and welcome to Melbourne Legacy's 89th Anzac commemoration ceremony for students. Have you seen our Guard of Honour? The Melbourne High School Cadets Guard of Honour have taken up their position in front of the flag station, facing the eternal flame at the open order in preparation for the Royal Salute. We now await the arrival of Her Excellency the Honourable Linda Co, and young Honourable The Governor of Victoria, the Honourable Linda Dessau, accompanied by the Melbourne Legacy President, Mr. Hugh Robertson, will now inspect the Guard of Honour. You are now invited to join with the McRobertson Girls High School Choir and the Melbourne High School Band and Choir as they present the song, I Am Australian. You'll find the words in your program. Thank you to the McRobertson Girls High School Choir and the Melbourne High School Band and Choir. Her Excellency, the Honourable Lyndon Dessau, AC, Governor of Victoria, will now deliver the Melbourne Legacy 89th Annual Anzac Commemoration Ceremony Address.
Let me start with some acknowledgements. Mr. Tim Richardson, Parliamentary Secretary for Schools, representing the Minister for Education. Mr. Hugh Roberton, President of Melbourne Legacy. Captain Stephen Bowater, Chair of the Shrine Trustees. Senior officers and members of the Australian Defence Force. Dr. Robert Webster, State President of the RSL, and representatives of other ex-service organisations. Members of the Consular Corps, distinguished guests, teachers and students. I also want to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we're gathering and by paying my respects to their elders past and present and to any elders who are here with us today. Well, on Sunday we commemorate Anzac Day. It's now 106 years since soldiers from the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps, the Anzacs, fought at Gallipoli in Turkey in World War I. Anzac Day provides an opportunity for us to reflect on the 400,000 Australians who went to serve in that war, and all those who've served in wars and peacekeeping missions since then. It must be hard for young people to think back to a time more than 100 years ago. To imagine young people, many not much older than some of you, heading to perils as yet unknown, thousands of miles from home and family, at once proud, curious and frightened as they set off. Neither can you be expected to imagine the impact of that war on the children here at home at that time. With a large number of our much smaller Australian population going off to fight, many children remained here, missing their fathers, brothers and uncles, worrying and anxiously awaiting news about them, and in many instances facing the devastating news that they would not return. Young people of around your ages were called upon to make their own contributions to the war effort too, knitting clothing for the soldiers in the trenches, donating pocket money, volunteering to help on farms, or being put to work to fill the financial void left by those who had gone off to fight. Similarly, in World War II, as Australian men and women were serving in Europe and in the Pacific, Victorian schoolchildren did their bit here at home. Again, they stitched clothing, being told that every stitch made was a stitch nearer to victory. Like everyone, they felt the impact of rationing, of having to do without some day-to-day items that were in short supply. Such items became luxuries when rationed, including clothing, tea, sugar, butter, meat, sometimes eggs and milk as well. Even Vegemite was in short supply, with the supplies mostly going to our serving soldiers. World War II brought the fear of war closer to home, with enemy raids on Darwin. Victorian schoolchildren undertook training in preparation to be evacuated quickly if the need arose. Parents were advised to make evacuation knapsacks for their children, stocked with food and clothing so they could be prepared for a quick evacuation. Just as in World War I, throughout World War II, and in war and peacekeeping since, kids have felt the challenging effects of their parents and other loved ones leaving to serve. But they have felt the positive effects as well. The service and the sacrifice of our Australian Defence Force men and women have helped to keep them safe, ensuring that they could grow enjoying a good life in a country with freedoms and rights to protect them. These are the legacies that have protected each generation for more than 100 years. Why, just like you, I was able to grow up in a safe and stable country, and why you, and one day your own children, will be able to do the same. That's why it's so important that each Anzac Day we pause and we reflect with gratitude on our past and on our current serving ADF personnel. We think in particular of those who sacrificed their lives for us, and we thank Melbourne Legacy for its ongoing work over many decades, caring for the families of veterans who've lost their lives or lost their health. We know that the work of Legacy has been made the more difficult across the last challenging year, and yet it didn't falter in the care that it continued to offer. We thank Legacy too for organising this ceremony. You're attending it in the 89th year. Across all those years, Melbourne Legacy has helped so many thousands of young Victorians to learn about and to appreciate the importance of Anzac Day and why it is that we must never forget. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for a very inspiring address. Would you now welcome Captain Stephen Bowater, OAM, the Chairman of the Shrine of Remembrance Trustees.
Your Excellency, the Honourable Linda Dessau, AC Governor of Victoria, Hugh Robertson, President, Melbourne Legacy, distinguished guests and most importantly, students and teachers. Good morning and welcome to the Shrine of Remembrance and the 2021 Melbourne Legacy Anzac Commemoration Ceremony for Students. I am Captain Stephen Bowater and I am privileged to serve as the recently appointed Chair of the Shrine of Remembrance Trustees. Today marks the annual observance of this special commemoration, linking Melbourne Legacy with the Shrine. Legacy has actively supported the Shrine since its foundation in 1927, and together we have served our community's need to remember those who have served in times of war. The Shrine of Remembrance is held in care by the Shrine Trustees on behalf of all the Victorians. We embrace the diversity of our community, and I acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I also wish to recognise those members of the Australian and Allied Defence Forces among us and thank you for your service as we remember the fallen and those no longer with us. The Shrine of Remembrance opened 87 years ago in 1934 to commemorate the 114,000 Victorians who enlisted in the First World War, 89,100 of them who deployed to battlefronts overseas, and 19,000 remain on the battlefields or upon the ocean floor. Our enduring purpose now is to honour the service and sacrifice of Victorians and Australians in war, conflict, peacemaking and peacekeeping from the First World War of 1914 to today. As our nation prepares for its most revered day of remembrance, Anzac Day, we warmly welcome you all to the Shrine of Remembrance. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Bowater. Now with a special legacy welcome, the President of Melbourne Legacy, Mr. Hugh Robertson.
The Governor of Victoria, Her Excellency, the Honourable Linda Dessau, AC Patron of Melbourne Legacy, Mr. Anthony Howard, QC, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, students and teachers, a warm welcome to Legacy's 89th Anzac Commemoration Ceremony for Students. Today, due to the restrictions, we have only with us students from the participating schools, but these proceedings are being live streamed, so potentially every student in the state could participate with us. As we have said before, we are gathered here to commemorate our service men and women who have died in the service of our great nation. For 98 years, Legacy has been helping the families of veterans from all generations with care, compassion and friendship. For the first time, this assistance has been given remotely by staff from Legacy House, working from home. They have kept in touch with many of our widows and families and have answered requests for assistance. Legacy activities for our widows groups are slowly resuming, much to their delight. The isolation caused by the restrictions must have been so hard for many. Many service personnel who served in the Australian Defence Force in more recent conflicts are suffering mental illness as a result. As always, Legacy stands ready to lend a hand when they need it most. We try to prevent families from being torn apart by the effects of mental illness. We work to ensure that children and a fair go. And we try to make sure that a widow is not alone. As part of this endeavour, recently, together with the RSL, Legacy has established a wellbeing centre for veterans and their families in Legacy House. It is a well-appointed and peaceful place where they can meet other families and access the assistance they need. One person who has been helped by Legacy is our torchbearer today, Tari Kovko. Tari has received education assistance from Legacy since he started primary school. He's attended many Legacy youth camps where he has formed strong bonds and friendships with other Legacy youth. He completed Year 12 last year and is now in an apprenticeship as a motorbike mechanic. Tyree, thank you for being the Legacy torchbearer. The torch is an important symbol of Legacy as it represents the undying flame of service and sacrifice. And as you will see shortly, assisting him today as torchbearer is Arushi Sodhi, a young Shrine ambassador. Thank you, Arushi. I would like to thank the Victorian Government and the Victorian Veterans Council for their support in helping us host this significant event, and to the Shrine trustees for making this magnificent memorial available to us. Thank you all for attending our 89th commemoration to remember the fallen and their families left behind. In closing, I would like to remind you that for every serving Australian who risks everything, a family does the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson. The Legacy Junior Public Speaking Award is a national competition conducted through Australian secondary schools and colleges in state, independent and Catholic schools for students aged 12 to 14 years. The competition began in Melbourne back in 1988 and the award commenced as a national competition in 1995. It spans approximately 7 months as it involves several elimination rounds to reach the finals, including regional, preliminary and state finals, followed by a winner and runner-up who compete at the national final. The aim of the Legacy Junior Public Speaking Award is to enhance the oral communication and public speaking skills of 12 to 14-year-old students and to help the younger generation to build confidence and appreciate the ideals of Legacy: voluntary service, social justice, caring, personal effect, personal sacrifice, and/or mateship, and the need for remembrance. Today we have with us the 2019 Victorian runner-up, Christina Close from Genazzano College in Kew, who will share with us her award-winning speech. Christina?
The crowd was cheering and clapping. The medals that I wore were heavy, but I didn't mind. All I could feel was the pride of marching in the Anzac Day March for my great-grandfather. I was surrounded by war veterans, current soldiers, marching bands, and people just like me who felt the importance of marching for their family members. As I walked, people thanked me. They understood what my great-grandfather and so many others had sacrificed for their country. On the 25th of April 1915, 16,000 members of the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps landed on Anzac Cove in Gallipoli as they tried to capture the Gallipoli Peninsula. On the first day of this campaign, there was said to be around 2,000 casualties. For these Anzacs, it was their first major action of the war. From then on, this day was known as Anzac Day. At first, it was to commemorate only the soldiers landing at Gallipoli, but now it is a day to remember all those who lost their lives in military and peacekeeping operations that Australia has been involved in. This war left a massive impact on Australian communities. So many family members, friends and co-workers never came home. And those who did were injured physically and emotionally. Imagine how hard it would be to see your fit, healthy, happy husband, father, son, or friend go off to war, and then see a battered, bruised, and traumatised man return. Or even not. Life would never be the same. These men sacrificed their lives for our country. They fought long and hard to make sure Australia was safe. They cannot go unrecognised. My family has been affected by war, as my great-grandfather Leonard Tawney was in the 2nd 5th Infantry Battalion during World War II. He was in the war for 4 years, from 1940 to 1944, and then returned home to Australia in 1945. He fought in Greece, Africa, Lebanon, and New Guinea. The war had a huge impact on my great-grandfather. I have heard stories about how he had nightmares after hearing fireworks at the Melbourne show. As he got older, his memories of the war became more vivid as he thought about his experiences more. He used to talk about the war a lot near the end of his life, which was uncommon for past soldiers. Many veterans suffer post-traumatic stress after returning from conflict. This disorder may have been undiagnosed for my great-grandfather. Anzac Day is a day where we say thank you. Thank you to the men and women who put their lives on the line for us, and to the families that were changed forever because of war. There is no bigger sacrifice than to lose your life for your country. Yet so many did, and we must never forget them. Now I know that some young people today do not understand and do not believe that remembering these Anzacs on Anzac Day is important. But it is. Without these brave men and women, Australia wouldn't be the great country it is today. Anzac Day needs to continue. The spirit must live on, through veterans and their families, but also through us. Whether it's a dawn service, watching or participating in the march, everyone needs to show that they are grateful. As said by Sir William Deane, a former Governor-General of Australia, Anzac Day is not merely about loss. It is about courage and endurance and duty and love of country, and mateship and good humour, and the survival of self-worth and decency in the face of dreadful odds.
Thank you, Christina. Time now to welcome back our choir and a very popular song we can all join in, Waltzing Matilda. Thank you. Can I ask everyone to stand now as the Shrine Guard are about to take post as the catafalque party at the Eternal Flame.
Catapult party! Rest on arms!
Her Excellency, the Honourable Linda Dessau, AC, Governor of Victoria, and Mr Hugh Robertson, Melbourne Legacy President, will now lay wreaths at the eternal flame. The two wreaths will be handed to the Governor's aide and Mr Robertson by Shrine Young Ambassadors Andrew Funkhauser and Tyrese de Malanta. We now invite the Shrine Young Ambassadors, Angus Murray, Eleanor Naylor and Levi Henderson Gillespie, and students laying wreaths to come forward and lay your wreaths under direction from the Shrine Senior Custodian. The next part of our service today begins with a recitation of For the Fallen, a poem by the English poet and writer Lawrence Binyon, published in London back in 1914, not long after the start of World War I. Following the ode, our bugler will sound the last post and we will observe a minute's silence, during which we honour the sacrifice of all who have died in the service of their country. The silence will end with the words, "Lest we forget," which we all repeat before the bugler sounds the rouse. Please be upstanding now. The Melbourne Legacy President, Hugh Roberton, will recite the ode.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
On! General salute, present! On! Catapult party! Slow! On!
Lest we forget.
Please be seated. We now await the arrival of the Legacy Torch. The torch symbolises the undying flame of service and sacrifice handed to us by our comrades in war who have passed on. The torch today is being carried by our Shrine Young Ambassador Arushi Sodhi, who will hand the torch to Junior Legatee Tyree Kovco. The Shrine Young Ambassador will be escorted up the forecourt by Lieutenant Colonel Gangas, representing the Navy, Sergeant Sean McClure Marr from the Australian Army, and Flight Lieutenant Alexander Burns of the RAAF. During the torch procession, we will be hearing from two high school captains. Firstly, Melbourne High School House Captain Jafar Al-Hadari will recite In Flanders Fields, the most famous of the war poems. In Flanders Fields was written by a Canadian Medical Corps doctor, Major John McRae, serving with the Field Artillery Brigade in Ypres. The death of one of his friends and former student in May 1915 affected him severely, and he wrote his poem as a way of expressing his anguish at the loss. Jeff.
In Flanders fields the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch, be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
Thank you, Jaffa. Now the House Captain of McRobertson High School, Alexa Calathor, will read We Shall Keep the Faith.
Oh, you who sleep in Flanders fields, sleep sweet to rise anew. We caught the torch you threw, and holding high, we keep the faith with all who died. We cherish, too, the poppy red that grows on fields where valor led. It seems to signal to the skies that blood of heroes never dies, but lends a luster to the red of the flower that blooms above the dead in Flanders fields. And now the torch and poppy red we wear in honor of our dead. Fear not that ye have died for naught, we'll teach the lesson that you wrought in Flanders fields.
Thank you, Alexa. Let us all join together now in the answer. You will find the words in today's program. Fear not that you have died for naught. The torch you threw to us we caught, and now our hands will hold it high. Its glory light shall never die. We'll not break faith with you who lie on many a field. Please stand to sing the Australian National Anthem.
General salute, present, on! General salute, present, on!
With
Her Excellency, the Honourable Linda Dessau, Governor of Victoria, and Mr Anthony Howard will now depart. Please remain standing until the Governor's car has moved off.
Start! Royal salute! Present! Start, Hayton! Done!
The Governor has departed. The catafalque party will now dismount.
Start! Catafalque Party! In one! Catafalque Party! Win!
Guard of Honour will now march off.
Guard! Close order! One! Guard! We'll move to the right in file! Right! And... Guard! On the left! West!
Thank you to the Melbourne High School Band. That's magnificent playing today. Well, the Catafalque Party has dismounted, the Guard of Honour has marched off. That brings us to the end of today's 89th Melbourne Legacy Anzac Commemoration Ceremony for students. I trust you found the day meaningful and hope you'll be encouraged to take part in the Anzac Day services in just 2 days' time. A big thank you today to all the people who've helped to make this possible. Particularly, we had our Melbourne High School band, the band and choir from Melbourne High School, and the Mac Robertson High School also with a choir. Our pipers, Noah Peters and Jack Cannon, were wonderful today, and they're both students at Scotch College. Our bugler, John Mansfield from the 4th 19th Prince of Wales Light Horse, and the Australian Air Force cadets and Australian Army cadets on parade were from Melbourne High School. Also assisting with today's service, we had our Shrine Young Ambassadors, Vanessa Ham, Angus Murray, Eleanor Naylor, Levi Henderson Gillespie, Arushi Sodi, Andrew Fankhauser, and Tyrese Demolanta. The Young Ambassador program provides an opportunity for students in Year 9 and 10 to actively participate in programs and commemorative events here at the Shrine. Their appointment is for a 13-month period from December to December of the following year. Their key role is to act as leaders within their school and social communities, in addition to representing future generations at Shrine ceremonies, as they have done today. Young ambassadors encourage their peers and other young people to gain a greater understanding of the importance of remembering and honouring Australia's service community and military history. So thank you all for attending today. We look forward to seeing you back here on Anzac Day. And I think we just made it through the weather. Thank you.